My name is Walter Graham. 74 years of skin, bone, and memory. Once, my voice filled boardrooms, my signature shifted markets, and my name carried weight, real weight. Now, even the paper I write it on feels heavier than I do. I live alone in a weather-beaten house at the far edge of town, where street lights flicker and die, and the air always seems to carry a hint of something rotting. The neighborhood has aged with me, quiet, faded, half forgotten. Like a song no one sings anymore. The paint peels on the porch, but I keep the steps clean. The windows creak, but they're always spotless. I sit each morning by the same window, with the same chipped mug of black tea, wrapped in the same worn-out grey blanket. It was once a wedding gift. From who, I can't even remember. My children, they're too busy succeeding. Mark, the corporate lawyer. Jenna, the tech entrepreneur. They talk at me twice a year, usually on speakerphone, in between meetings and delayed flights. I've become a calendar notification. A reminder, call dead. No one stays on long enough to hear silence settle between my words. My grandchildren barely know my face. One of them called me a wallet last Christmas. I didn't correct him. At the grocery store, I've learned to repeat myself twice. At the pharmacy, they speak slowly to me like I'm broken. At the clinic, the nurse pats my shoulder like I'm already dead. The doctor doesn't meet my eyes when he says, "It's just part of aging, Mr. Graham." I don't remember growing old. It just happened. One day I was Walter Graham, the force of nature. The next, I was just some old man people look through. But I'm not gone. Not yet. People think time erases strength. That age turns lions into ghosts. But they misunderstand. Time doesn't weaken, it refines. It distills. What's left is sharper. I don't speak much these days. Words feel wasted on those who only listen to the sound of their own lives. But inside I am screaming. Not in pain. Not in grief. In fury. They all think I'm fading. That I don't see, don't understand, don't remember. But I do. I remember everything. There's a notebook in my drawer. Leather-bound, soft from age, heavy with silence. I haven't touched it in years. Not since the world stopped asking my opinion. Not since people stopped listening. But this morning, I opened it. I turned to a clean page. I wrote one word, observe. Because something is waking up inside me. Something cold and patient. Something that remembers what I once was. They call it bitterness. I call it clarity. I don't want their apologies. I want their truths. Stripped bare. I want them to feel what it's like to be invisible, irrelevant, discarded. They made me a ghost. They forgot, some ghosts don't haunt. They hunt. They used to look at me with something between admiration and fear. I wasn't born into wealth. No silver spoon. My father laid bricks until his spine bent like a question mark. My mother cleaned offices long after everyone else had gone home. I learned young, if you want respect, you build it, with bare hands and sleepless nights. I started small. Hardware distributor. 1 truck. 2 employees. I worked 16 hours a day and slept with invoices on my chest. By 40, I ran one of the largest supply chains in the state. By 50, senators were calling me by my first name. I wasn't the loudest man in the room. I didn't have to be. I listened. I calculated. I made people feel seen. And that's why they followed me, because I gave them purpose, even when I had to break a few bones along the way. I remember the nights I came home soaked in rain and exhaustion. My wife, Carol, would wait up, hair pulled back, hands warm. She never cared how much money I made. She only wanted me to come back alive. She's gone now. Cancer doesn't care how powerful you were. It strips everything. In the end, I held her hand while the machine beeped slower and slower. I didn't cry. Not then. Not for years. I remember taking out a second mortgage just to put Jenna through MIT. When Mark's startup collapsed, I covered his debts without a word. When my CFO stole $500,000, I didn't go to court, I handled it the old way. Quietly. Efficiently. Every scar on my hands has a name. But time is cruel in how it rewrites memory. To them, I'm just old water now. A relic. A story they don't tell anymore. I gave them everything. And now, I get automated birthday messages. But the worst part isn't being forgotten. It's knowing I remember everything. Every sacrifice. Every betrayal. Every promise broken not by enemies, but by blood. And they think I'm too far gone to notice. That my silence is weakness. That my slowness is stupidity. That my distance is dementia. But silence can be strategy. And distance. Perspective. They think I've shrunk with time. But I've only stepped back. They still live in the moment. I live in the long game. They think the lion sleeps because he's tired. No. The lion sleeps because he's waiting. It's not the big things that break you. Not the funerals. Not the goodbyes. Not even the betrayals. It's the small things. The 1,000 quiet paper cuts that no one sees. Last week I called Mark. I had a simple question, something about my insurance papers. His assistant picked up. He's in a meeting. He'll get back to you. He never did. That was 3 messages ago. This morning, I needed help lifting a box of canned food onto the counter at the store. My hands shook. The box slipped. Cans clattered across the linoleum like marbles on a cold morgue floor. People stepped around me like I was part of the mess. One cashier said, "Poor guy," then walked away. I picked them up one by one. No one offered to help. Not one. My grandson, Eli, came by last Sunday. His mother told him to. He barely looked up from his phone. I asked if he could fix the router. He laughed and said, "You still use that dinosaur box?" I nodded. He didn't touch it. When I asked him how school was going, he shrugged. Fine. That was the entire conversation. 15 minutes. Then he stood, said, "Later, Wally," and left. Didn't even shut the door. Wally. Not Grandpa. Not even Walter. Wally. Like I was some cartoon they barely remembered. The nurse at the clinic called for someone to help the old man with the hearing issue. As if I wasn't sitting 3 feet away. She talked about me in front of me like I wasn't real. Like I wasn't there. But I heard every word. I see it in their eyes, the way they flatten their tone when they talk to me. The performative patience. The quiet irritation. I know what it means. I've used that voice. On clients I wanted to dismiss. On liars I didn't respect. They think I don't notice. But I do. I write it all down. Names. Faces. Times. Exact words. I have notebooks. Plural. Hidden in drawers, in the hollow under the staircase, behind books no one touches. I write in the dark, when the house is quiet, when even the wind outside holds its breath. Because every injustice, every slight, every laugh behind my back, it builds. Layer by layer. Drop by drop. Like water behind a dam. And the dam is cracking. They think I'm fading. But I'm focusing. They think I'm frail. But I'm preparing. They think I'm just some old man with nothing left. But what they don't understand is that a man with nothing to lose is the most dangerous thing in the world. It happened on a Tuesday. Grey sky. Bitter wind. I was walking back from the store, a plastic bag in each hand, eggs, tea, some bread. I stepped off the curb, slow but steady, and the wind caught the bag on the left. It tore. The eggs cracked across the sidewalk like shattered bone. I bent to pick them up. My knee gave out. I hit the ground hard. The world tilted. Pain flared up my hip, across my ribs. The bag spilled. My glasses slid into the gutter. People passed. A woman stared, then pulled her child away like I was contagious. A teenager pointed. Laughed. I heard him say it. Old man's not even human anymore. And that was it. That was the click. A switch inside me flipped. Not rage. Not despair. Just something ancient. Cold. Focused. Pure. I didn't cry. I didn't curse. I lay there for a moment longer. Listening. Counting footsteps. Measuring how many turned away. How many saw me as waste. As nothing. Then I stood. Slowly. Deliberately. With the kind of calm that only comes before a storm. That night, I sat in the center of my dark living room, the only light coming from the television, muted, flickering with meaningless faces. I didn't look at it. I stared at the floor. Then I moved. I unlocked the hallway closet. At the back, under an old army coat, was a steel box. Inside, a phone, wrapped in plastic. A backup SIM. Passwords. Names. I'd built it years ago, when I still believed in being ready. I just didn't know what for. I took it out. Then I opened the drawer in the bedroom. The notebook. The real one, the one with codes, connections, buried favors. I still remembered every debt. Every secret I was trusted with. Every man who owed me, and every man I let walk away. I found a box of photos. Me with senators. Me shaking hands with men who smiled for cameras and stabbed each other in boardrooms. I scanned the faces. I knew who had fallen. I knew who still held power. And I knew how to make them fall. Not with violence. Not with noise. With design. I was never the loudest voice in the room. I was the one who knew where the levers were. I was the man who pulled strings so others could dance. They called me a leader. But I was always a strategist. And the game. It's back on. You don't strike from the front when they've already stopped looking in your direction. You strike from beneath. From behind. From within. I didn't need to yell. Or threaten. Or confront. That's for the weak. The emotional. My weapon wasn't rage, it was intimacy with the system. I knew how they moved, what they valued, what they feared. I built men like them once. I watched them grow teeth only after I handed them mouths. Now, I was going to make them swallow their own reflections. It started with Mark. He was giving a keynote at a corporate ethics summit, ironic, considering he once wrote off bribes as consulting fees. I sent an anonymous file to the press. Dated documents. A whistleblower's testimony I'd recorded 10 years ago, when I first suspected him. I'd kept it buried. Until now. 3 days later, he was forced to resign. He called me that night. I didn't answer. Then Jenna. My brilliant daughter. Too smart to be fooled, but too arrogant to be careful. I found the emails, the ones where she manipulated a startup's board into a buyout that cost 15 families their homes. Buried in the metadata. She thought she'd deleted it all. I sent the thread to an activist group. They posted it. Viral in hours. Her company's valuation plummeted. Sponsors pulled out. Her perfect image cracked. She emailed me. Did you see what's happening? People are turning on me. Yes, Jenna. Just like you turn your back on me. Then Eli, the grandson who laughed at my rota. I didn't destroy him. I let him destroy himself. Sent screenshots of his private messages to his scholarship committee, the ones bragging about buying essays, mocking disabled students, threatening classmates. They withdrew his scholarship. His girlfriend broke up with him. He posted a break from social media announcement. One by one, the threads unraveled. And I never left my house. Phones rang. Doors knocked. Emails came in frantic flurries. I responded to none of them. Because my silence was louder than their excuses. Now, when they speak my name, it's in whispers. When they come to my door, it's with rehearsed remorse. But I don't open. I sit by the window. Watch the light move across the room. Sip my tea. They still don't understand. This wasn't revenge. Not really. It was a lesson. They mistook kindness for weakness. Silence for surrender. Age for decay. But I'm not decaying. I am distilling. And now, in this quiet house on the edge of a dying street, I am everything they cannot control. They came to the house today. All of them. Mark. Jenna. Eli. The whole beautiful, broken constellation of my bloodline. They didn't call ahead. Didn't ask. Just showed up, like penitents before a shrine they finally remembered. They stood awkwardly in my living room, staring at the floor, at the furniture, at each other. Never directly at me. Mark was the first to speak. Dad, we know some things have been difficult lately. He used that tone, the lawyer's tone. Practice vulnerability. Jenna followed. We've all been under pressure. We didn't mean to ignore you. Eli didn't speak. His eyes were red. Whether from guilt or shame, I didn't care. They said the words. The ones they thought would fix something. But they didn't understand. This wasn't about fixing. This was about seeing. And now, finally, they saw. Not me. Themselves. The masks had cracked. Their illusions shattered. They were no longer the people they imagined they were. I didn't need to lecture. Or scold. Or punish. I simply looked at them. One by one. And let the silence hang, like smoke in a sealed room. My gaze did what no speech could. It reminded them. That I was always watching. That I never left. That they didn't fall because I struck them. They fell because they were already hollow. They stood there, unsure if they were forgiven. Hoping. Waiting. But I wasn't there to give them peace. I was there to leave them with truth. I walked past them. Sat by the window. Picked up my tea. And looked outside. They didn't follow. They didn't speak again. One by one, they left. Quiet. Slow. Changed. That night, I opened the notebook. The last page. One final entry. Underscore, they didn't destroy me. They simply taught me the cost of mercy. Old age isn't weakness. It's clarity sharpened by years. A blade they never saw coming. Underscore. I closed the notebook. Placed it back in the drawer. Locked it. I'm not angry anymore. But I am unforgiven. Not out of cruelty. Out of choice. Because some lessons are not meant to be forgotten. They're meant to be carried. Like a shadow that no longer follows you, but leads.
Subscribe and like this video. More interesting revenge stories of elderly people coming soon.